Alright guys, so today I'm going to show you how to fit your gauges, your 52mm gauges, to our gauge pod for this lower pocket area in the E30. It's not extremely straightforward. There is some order of operations that you have to follow to get it to fit just right. So I'm going to detail that process in this video today so that you can get this fitted properly without breaking anything, and so that it's there to stay for the long run and it's not going to move about on you or anything. So obviously the first thing you have to do is run all your wires. So basically the way I have it is I have all my wires running through the cigarette lighter plastic piece right here, right from under the carpet. So the gauges I have fitted are oil temperature and oil pressure. So the way I have that running is this is for the interior lighting right here. They're soldered on the back, and this is just the interior lighting circuit, and that's borrowed from the dash right here. Your dash has backlighting for these switches right here. For these right here, there's lights that light that up. There's lights that light up your cigarette lighter area, so you can really borrow that 12-volt lighting from anywhere. And then I have my ground. This ground is just borrowed off of the cigarette lighter area. And then I have my positive. This is switched. My Vito gauges call for switched 12-volt power. So this is coming from my radio. This is coming from the amp remote turn on. I recommend you run it from your radio's 12-volt switch power, or any sort of switch power from the key for the positive. And then my last two wires over here, which I have labeled, are temp. So this is for the oil temperature, and then this one right here is for oil pressure. So once you have all your wires up here and ready to go, you can start installing your gauges. But that's the first step, is get all your wiring going. The second step is just to take the gauge by itself. Just take this by itself. And the process you're going to go about here is you're going to see two screws back here. You're going to see one screw on this side, one screw on this side. So the screw on the right is going to be tightened all the way down. The screw on the left, you don't have access to it when your gauges are installed, so you can't tighten it all the way down. So the way you're going to do this is you're going to tighten it down all the way, just finger tight, and then you're going to back it off a little bit so that you have a little bit of play over on your left side. And the way this is going to work is, if you see the tabs on this panel, this tab is going to firmly slip into the slot down here where the screw is. And then on the right side, right here, you're actually going to tighten this one down all the way. So I'll kind of show you how that process goes. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take the top end of the gauge and press it all the way up into this area. Make sure your wires are all situated. You're going to have to play with your wires a little bit. And then you're going to push it up. You're going to push it to the right. And then you're going to lift up right here and press that forward. You can see it's still a little too tight. It's not sliding all the way forward. So we're just going to go with our screwdriver. And by the way, this is a Phillips No. 1 screwdriver. And it's a Weha brand, or Wera. So I just loosen that a little bit. I'm going to go back in. It's still a little bit too tight. You can see it's snugging up here, but it's still a little too tight. So I'm going to back it off a little more. And that, I like that. You can see it's kind of coming right into place. It's coming out, snipping back in. I like that. So once you're happy with how it's fitting, when you push it in, you like how it's snapping in there, then you're ready to take it back out. And the way you take it back out is you kind of push on the bottom, and then you slide it to the right. And then once you slide it to the right, you can pull up. But make sure you push it forward, go to the right, and then you can start pulling up. The clearances in here are all pretty tight to make it fit flush with everything, so be careful. Don't pull excessively hard. If you're not getting it in one situation, move it. Try to pull it into different locations until it comes out easily. Because if you pull too hard, you'll end up breaking things. So Now we're ready to fit our gauges. So you're going to fit your gauges. Let's see, I want my pressure on the right, or on the left. You're going to put your gauges in. And I recommend these veto gauges for what it's worth. Basically, you have sender units up in your oil temperature and pressure, and then you have to run wires in the car. Never run any oil lines inside your car. I had that happen, and a line got kinked, and it drained oil all over my passenger floorboard. Just not fun to clean, so highly recommend you're always running wires inside your car for gauges, and never running any sort of fuel, never running any sort of oil or anything like that. So I'm going to fast forward real quick here while I get these gauges all screwed together. So once you got your gauges installed and your rings are all tightened, you can start connecting all your terminals. So I have signal, I have positive, I have ground, and then I have my lighting backlight circuit. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect everything up. And clearance in here, depending on your gauges, depending on how much depth your gauges have, you might not have clearance for the wiring. For example, for these right here, I had to solder onto these tabs because I just didn't have the clearance. So I recommend picking up some of these terminals right here. They're called flag terminals. So if you want to go on Amazon, search flag terminals and flag terminal crimpers, and this way you can get a nice right angle connection onto these, which is honestly how they should be anyway, because it's just it works better in this tight area. So now I'm just going to go ahead and wire all these up. Okay, so once you have everything wired up here, you have your illumination, you have your switch power, you have your ground, and you have your signals for each gauges. You're ready to put it in, and there's a certain way you want to put it in so that it fits the best and so that you don't break anything, and that's the real important part of this video. So you're going to flip it over, and you're going to take the top end of the gauge and you're going to insert it where there's the little gap up here underneath your dash, and you're going to slide it in. You're going to push it down, and you're going to take the top, and you're going to want to pull the top up as high as it'll go reasonably, and then you're going to slide it over. And then what you need to do is make sure that this little foot here, in fact, let me show you that. These little feet here, they both come out on each side. This little foot is going to go underneath this plastic ring down there. So right down here on this part, there's a little ring, and this goes underneath that, so that when you tighten this plastic panel down, it tightens down on my gauge pod. So just to show you that again, we're going to go into the slot up here, and then we're going to go push to the left. And then what you want to do is make sure that this foot right here this foot on my gauge pod is underneath the plastic tab on this. So you're going to look down there, make sure that's happening, and then on the left side you're going to make sure your gaps are right. You're going to want to push the top down as you pull up on this, and that's just going to make sure the foot on this side is getting slid into the area down here. And then once you do that, you're going to want to kind of pull it as tight as possible, and you're going to start tightening this screw right here. There's a little hole for your screwdriver, and you're going to want to use a low profile screwdriver, Phillips number 1 like this one, so that you can get down in here. And you don't have to go super tight, just tight enough. And now you can see if you go to left or right, it's not going to wiggle around. You're going to be able to drive many miles, and it's not going to move around on you. And that's the big advantage of this gauge pod. Not only is it textured, but it screws down, and it's not going to move on you over the years. And you get extra room over here to throw your keys or whatever else you need. And then your wires, they're going to sneak under here. You have to cut a hole in this plastic panel, the BMW panel, this guy, to sneak your wires up and under. And then, after that's all done, you can go ahead and put this cigarette tray back in there. And now you're pretty much done. This screw, you don't want to tighten it down too hard, just tight enough. And now your gauges are in here and they're ready to go. And if you ever want to remove it, you're gonna go ahead, you're gonna loosen your screw. Then you're gonna pull up towards the top. You're gonna pull up, and you're gonna push to the right, and then you're gonna slip it up into this slot under the dash, right like that, and then you're gonna pull it up and out. So once you got the hang of it, once you kind of know how everything goes, it's really easy to install and uninstall. So just for you guys, once again, it's going to go up here, it's going to go down, it's going to go to the left all the way, and then you're going to, this top part is angled up right now, and then you're going to push it down, and it's going to hopefully click your bottom feet into place. If not, just go ahead, try again, lift up on this guy. Make sure everything is fitting how it should. And once it's in place, you just go ahead and you lightly tighten that screw. If you tighten it too tight, it's going to start to try and warp things out of place. So don't get it too tight. It's really just a locational thing. And one more thing to note is that this gauge was based off of my plastic panel right here. It was based off of my lower console area right here, so it might not be, you know, perfect according to yours, and you're going to see that with all the plastic panels in this car. Over the time, you know, plastic panels can warp, so things might not be 100% perfect as far as panel gaps go, but that's to be expected with interior panels and any sort of panel in general. If it's excessive, there's probably something wrong. If it's something small like this right here, you know, I have a little gap right here, and on the left side there's a little bit of a gap. I would say nothing more than 1/8 of an inch. I would say most of this is around a 1/16 of an inch gap, so anything beyond 1/8 of an inch, I would say you probably have something wrong. If you guys ever need any help installing this, or you have any questions, reach out to me. I'll put contact information in the description, and then you can also go to FalkMFG.com, and there's a contact page there. You can go ahead and reach out, because I would like it if all you guys could install this successfully. I'm pretty happy with this. I bought an eBay one, and it just kind of pressure fit into place, and it would always wiggle out, and I also only needed 2 gauges down here, and all the options I usually see completely replace this, which I like to have this pocket, or they completely replace this area, and it's nice to have 2 gauges because you might not need the 3rd spot. And I like to put my wallet here because I don't like to sit on my wallet when I'm driving, and it's a pretty useful spot to have it. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you taking interest in this gauge pod. I also sell another gauge pod for the E30. It's this one right here. I have my boost gauge located in the original OBC or clock position, and yeah, I put a lot of effort into these designs. They are 3D printed, and they're printed out of high quality ASA, which is basically a better plastic than ABS, and they're resistant to fading from the sun. And if they do fade, you can usually polish up the plastic nice. And these go through multiple revisions, so it's not like I just designed this and then went ahead and started selling it. I have probably gone through 10 different design iterations of this just to make sure everything, all the gaps are as good as possible and the experience is as great as possible before I ever start selling them. So I appreciate your support. For any other E30 and E36 products, go to FalkMFG.com. Thank you guys for watching, and have a great day.